I had to wait a little while to record this video because I needed to calm down. But reading this story made me more, enraged me more than anything I have read over the past several years. In fact, I can't recall being as angry as I've been. It's kind of an interesting feeling, being a milquetoast fence sitter, reading the news and being like, well, going to move on with it, I guess, not going to pout, not going to scream. And then to read that U.S. officials lied to the American people and lied to the president to keep active duty troops on the ground in Syria when the president, who was elected promising to end these wars, they lied to him in order to keep these troops on the ground. And it's funny. It's a joke. There's no democracy in this country. The only subversion of democracy is things like this. And they're complaining now. Trump is going to subvert democracy. Shove it. I don't care anymore. This was it. Donald Trump was pulling our troops out of the Middle East. For 20 years, we've been entangled in Iraq and Afghanistan. Thanks to the likes of Barack Obama and Joe Biden and the other crooked pieces of human trash in the State Department, we found ourselves entangled in more Middle Eastern and North African conflict. Got to get that natural gas up to Europe, though. That's the most important thing. Refugee crisis, be damned. Who cares? The hundreds of thousands who are suffering, the millions who are forced to flee their homes. None of that matters to these people. They just want. And so the American people said no. And they vote for something else. But your bureaucratic permanent government did everything in their power to subvert the president of the United States and the will of the people. And you sit there, share this, please, with all of your Biden voting lefty friends. Thank you all, Biden voters, for bringing back the despotic, psychopathic warmongers who are going to spend the next 4 years blowing up kids. And I hope the blood of those children weighs heavily on your conscience when you sleep at night. For 20 years, more than half of my life, we have been involved in some ridiculous Middle Eastern entanglement for stupid reasons. But the media loves it. The military industry loves it. And our despotic warmonger class loves it. Dropping bombs on American citizens in Yemen. Thanks, Obama. From Liz Sly, U.S. officials have been lying to Trump and the American people about the true number of U.S. troops in Syria in order to deter him from withdrawing them, according to the outgoing Syria envoy. Trump thinks it's 200. Liz Sly put little laughing, crying emojis. Liz, wrong emoji. She tried explaining it. She says, to be clear, I'm not implying it's actually funny. I use the weeping laugh because it's tragicomic. The joke is on Trump. No, it's not funny at all. I'm not laughing. I'm ready to punch a hole through a window. I'm sick of it. For too long. For too long. You know what? It's personal. I've told this story on the IRL podcast. Growing up, seeing the war and the murder and the anger. But you know what else? You know what else I saw? It was the deception. It was the manipulation. It was them poking me in the back, tricking me, telling me that I must do everything I can to make sure that these wars end. That was what I grew up with. Writing songs about it. Punk rock. How about that? Then Obama came along. And Obama said, we're going to end these wars. We're going to bring our troops back. Hope and change. I voted for him. There's a reason why Barack Obama lost around 4 million votes from 2008 to 2012. Because he was a piece of garbage who signed, he re-upped the AUMF, the Authorization for Use of Military Force in the Middle East. He signed the indefinite detention provision of the National Defense Authorization Act, allowing them to arrest anybody without charge or trial, hold them offshore, do whatever they want, essentially. He entangled us in more Middle Eastern conflict, making everything worse. Yeah. The worst part of it for me was that when I was standing there and they said Obama won, and I said, finally, we can put an end to war, to the murder, to the death, the civilians who have lost their lives, to the refugees forced to flee their homes. And then they were gone. Each and every one of these liberals, these leftists, poof, overnight, just gone. Left me standing there holding the bag, angry. Why are we still there? Why are there people today who are serving in the military who weren't even alive when 9/11 happened? And here's the news. Jim Sciutto of CNN says, in the Madman Theory, senior DOD officials told me how they fooled Trump into leaving troops on the ground. Quote, if you look at his tweets, they were definitive about leaving. And then we didn't leave. And now we haven't left. We're still there. And that's a good thing. Arrest these people. They defied a legal, lawful order from the president. They lied to us. They lied to him. Arrest them all. And it's never going to happen because you live under the boot. These people don't care about you, and they never will. Mitch McConnell doesn't care about you. Chuck Schumer doesn't care about you. Nancy Pelosi doesn't care about you. There's very few people in our government who actually do. They are zealous tribalists. They are moral authoritarians who think they know better. And they'll sell you out in a heartbeat for themselves. Trump ain't no saint. And he got all the problems in the world. You can start naming them all off. But I'll tell you what, he was pulling our troops out, or at least trying to. And they did everything they could to stop that. Here's the actual story. Outgoing Syria envoy admits hiding U.S. troop numbers. Praises Trump's Mideast record. Okay, sure. I can respect at least some of that, but I'm a bit angry, and for good reason. 4 years after signing the now infamous Never Trump letter, condemning then presidential candidate Donald Trump as a danger to America, retiring diplomat Jim Jeffrey is recommending that the incoming Biden administration stick with Trump's foreign policy in the Middle East. But even as he praises the president's support of what he describes as a successful realpolitik approach to the region, he acknowledges that his team routinely misled senior leaders about troop levels in Syria. These people are some of the stupidest, most arrogant people. Did you hear what I just read to you? Well, Donald Trump succeeded in the Middle East, and we definitely want to carry on. We were obstructing him every step of the way. Wow. Could we have had peace in the Middle East if these moral authoritarian lunatic tribalists got out of the way? Perhaps. Trump knew what he was doing, it would seem. And now they're saying, well, his realpolitik, it worked out. You think? We could have our troops back. They could be back home safe and sound, spending the holidays with their families, smile on their face, doing the right thing. They're not going to be. They're going to remain on the ground, hidden from the American people. Something must be done about this. I'm not convinced it ever will. It's just the way things go in this country, I suppose. I am madder than I've ever been reading this. Quote, we were always playing shell games to not make clear to our leadership how many troops we had there, Jeffrey said in an interview. The actual number of troops in northeast Syria is a lot more than the roughly 200 troops Trump initially agreed to leave there in 2019. Trump's abruptly announced withdrawal of U.S. troops from Syria remains perhaps the single most controversial foreign policy move during his first years in office. And for Jeffrey, the most controversial thing in my 50 years in government. The order, first handed down in December 2018, led to the resignation of former Defense Secretary Jim Mattis. Good riddance. It catapulted Jeffrey, then Trump's special envoy for Syria, into the role of special envoy in the counter-ISIS fight, when it sparked the protest resignation of his predecessor, Brett McGurk. For Jeffrey, the incident was far less cut and dry, but it is ultimately a success story that ended with U.S. troops still operating in Syria, denying Russian and Syrian territorial gains, and preventing ISIS remnants from reconstituting. A success story. The military is going to do what the machine wants it to do. Your vote is meaningless. That's it. Your vote's meaningless. We've known for a long time that the will of a regular person was meaningless. There's been numerous studies showing that no matter what popular opinion is, politicians just favor the corporate interests and the lobbyists. And that's it. We really are a plutocracy where the rich get richer and they dictate what they want. And you know what they want? Natural gas, man. Come on. The Qatar Turkey pipeline. We got to get that gas up in Europe. Doesn't matter what happens along the way. It doesn't matter the people that I've met and interviewed in Europe in the refugee crisis. It doesn't matter the stories about people being on refugee boats coming from the Middle East, sinking and dying. It doesn't matter the video of the little kid who washed up ashore dead. These people are fleeing these countries because of our entanglement, partly. I'm not going to blame the United States for everything. I'm not trying to be unreasonable. There's war in the region, and refugees come for a lot of reasons. It's not just our involvement. We certainly exacerbate things and make them worse. Many of these refugees who came from, it's the Eastern Mediterranean route, were coming from Iraq and Afghanistan. That's the fault of the United States. I mean, there's always going to be refugees from a variety of regions. People are always going to be trying to flee. But I've met some of these people on the streets of Athens, Greece. I went to Lesbos. I went to the island. I've met the people who lived in Moria. I met the people who said they're from Iraq and Afghanistan, and it is war-torn. And so they fled. Look, the United States should not have gotten involved in these places. And it's likely the suffering would have been there regardless of our position. But at a certain point, you say enough, and we leave. And we focus on fixing Flint, where American citizens are suffering because of the lead in the pipes, because of the tainted water. But it doesn't get done. It doesn't get done. No. But the permanent bureaucrat class of our corrupt government will lie to the president and make sure that the will of the people not be met. Lock these people up. This man is admitting to violating lawful orders and tricking the American people. The Republicans, the Democrats won't do it. And the Republicans won't either. Let's be real. When Trump tried withdrawing our troops, they all voted against him. That's what America is. And I hope you don't forget it. Because even when you get your president in, even if you get your this is what they're going to do. And it's not going to change. I don't know what will change it. But I'd like to give a special thank you to those who emboldened Joe Biden. And I want you to know that the 8 years I spent watching that presidency and the things they did and the entanglements and what they... Thank you for helping make it all worse. Yeah. I got a couple more segments coming up in a few minutes. Stick around. I'll see you all shortly.